In this episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks, we're going to have Threadripper Pro, Lenovo ThinkStation P620. That's a mouthful. Death Stranding. It's kind of a dark thing, isn't it? And Beat the Heat. We're going to be giving away TCL phones. Next. Welcome back to yet another episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks. We are all looking crispy now with DSLR cameras pointing at our faces instead of webcams. We've upped our game, right, Marco?
Absolutely, though I'm on mirrorless. No DSLR for me.
Oh, you're in the snotty mirrorless camera. I see.
Yes. I'm a Micro 4 loser.
We'll call them ILCs, and then we're all inclusive. But I'm realizing my fan's on, so give me a second to turn that off.
Yeah, you've got some fan noise there, pal. Squeeze the breeze, please. Hey, yeah, I've got a big Canon pointing at me with the 135mm kit lens. Does look pretty good, I must admit. Canons, they have this in case anybody isn't aware, they have this utility now. You just stick a USB cable into it, plug it into your PC, and install this driver, and your Canon camera, I have an EOS 80D, which is absolutely fantastic. I love it. A little older now, might upgrade it soon, but that thing turns into a webcam. So technology, it's a beautiful thing, right, fellas?
Absolutely.
It is.
What's new and exciting before we dig into the headlines? What's new and exciting in the scenic state of Connecticut, Marco?
Not a whole heck of a lot. We have a really, really beautiful day here today. Not too hot. The sun is shining. The kids are being behaved in the other room. So as of this moment, all good on my end.
Behaved children. That's always a good thing. Same thing up here. Beautiful and scenic suburbs of Boston. Chris, how's it up there in God's country, Maine?
It's good. Our weather has cooled off just a little bit, so I don't really need the fan today. I don't think so much. So that's always nice. Other than that, it's getting back to normal. I'll be back in the office full time starting the end of the month. So it's progress.
Yeah, progress. Progress is a beautiful thing. Well, we've got lots of progress to be talking about today. Tons of stuff, actually, that folks will want to stick around for towards the end, where we will be announcing the winners of a 5-prize giveaway. That's coming up. Stay tuned for that. TCL 10 Pro phones, giving away 5 of them. And we'll be talking about a new contest that will be on the horizon. Stick around for that. And one that's live right now. I say contests, but they're giveaways. You kind of have to compete, but you're really just submitting social things and, yes, getting your name in. So stick around for that. And we'll be talking about all that stuff shortly. But let's dig into the headlines. AMD unveils Ryzen Threadripper Pro processors to battle Intel Xeon W. The W Xeons, battling them. AMD Threadripper Pro. Pretty cool. 64 core on the top end. Big beast of a chip. 12 core and 16 core variants and a 32 core variant. What makes them pro, Marco?
So this is actually really interesting. If you look back at AMD's desktop and even the mobile lineup, the Ryzen Pro desktop processors were essentially the same chips as their non-pro counterparts, right? They enabled all of the managerial and security features that are in there. The security processors turned on. It enables AMD's Pro features, which are competitive to Intel's vPro technology. So manageability and all that kind of stuff in the enterprise. Now, what's different about these Threadrippers, though, the Threadripper Pros are not the same Threadrippers that we have on the desktop. So there's 4 new Threadripper Pros in the lineup. Starts at the 3945WX, which is a 12-core, 24-thread part. Goes all the way up to the monster 3995WX, which is a 64-core, 128-thread part. But where these differ from the desktop processors, they have 8 memory channels and support for up to 2 terabytes of memory. Now, one of the complaints with the Threadripper 3000 series was that they only support up to 256 gigs, and that if you wanted a workstation, lots of people wanted more memory. Now, not only do these give more memory up to 2 terabytes, but it's 8 channels, so double the memory bandwidth as well. Now, what that means is it's in a different socket and chipset, basically different motherboards. And what AMD has done this time around, they've partnered for the initial launch with Lenovo. These processors are not initially going to be sold at retail. Who knows if they show up at some later date, but they're only going to be sold through OEMs and system builders as part of, pre-configured systems.
Yeah, interesting. Do you think they'll make it out in the channel? I know OEM system builders are the only ones that are supposed to have access to them, but sometimes you see the OEM chips out amongst the Amazons and the like. You think that's a possibility?
I don't think it's going to happen at first because the scuttlebutt was AMD and Lenovo were super quiet about this. Even the motherboard makers didn't really know this was coming. So if there were motherboards out there for people, then I would suspect processors would trickle into the channel somehow, some way. But since it's only in Lenovo right now and there's really no motherboards for them, I don't think they're going to show up initially. And I should also mention that they're not going to show up from Lenovo until September. So they're not available now. The announcement was this week, but they're not available just yet.
It is impressive to see how well AMD is doing with this architecture. 64 cores in a single socket, which is a boon for workstation folks. Folks that do heavily threaded work, whether it be content creation, whether it be, maybe it's CAD, all kinds of different applications, heavily threaded, sort of big iron work in a workstation. Really just impressive. The next competitive thing from Intel would be a dual socket 28 core setup, right? And the Xeon W, you get to what is it? 52 cores? What is that? Yeah. So I don't know.
So it's actually against the Xeon W. The top Xeon W is only 28 cores, 28 cores, 56 thread.
You need dual.
You have to go to a dual socket 56. Xeon scalable Platinum with two 28. So it's not even the W series. Like the Threadripper Pro top end chip will, in many workloads, beat Intel's top 28 core 2-socket Xeon setup. So it's really, really wild. Now, if you go down the stack, the 3945WX does compete with the 12 core, W, 3235. And then the next step up the stack, it's AMD 16 core versus an Intel 18 core. So that's, a fair fight. But then the next step, you have AMD 32 cores versus 28 cores from Intel. And then that's technically it in single socket. You got to go to dual socket on the Intel side to get anything that can come close to the 3995WX.
Yeah, I forgot the Xeon W doesn't go dual socket. That's single socket, but you're talking Platinum to get there, and that's a whole different ball of wax from a pricing standpoint. Wow.
And then, on top of that, the Threadrippers have PCI Express 4.0. So they have, next gen connectivity. They have more PCI Express lanes. Yeah. It's 8 memory channels versus 6 memory channels on the Intel side. So, these are incredibly, incredibly powerful setups. I am hoping we get our hands on one from Lenovo because I really want to take it for a spin, and they might not get it back.
Well, we do know the folks at Lenovo pretty well. Chris?
Yeah, Marco, has there ever been silicon you haven't wanted to get your hands on?
Dirty.
No, but this is that special kind of, unicorn top end stuff that's really hard to come by, and that just makes it all the more enticing.
They're going to make these things available on the channel. It's just a little. I'm willing to bet, and AMD hasn't gone on record, so I'm not saying anything out of turn. I'm willing to bet they keep them OEM exclusive for a little while, and then they unexclusive them or make them generally available.
Actually, I don't know, because I think for the vast majority of workloads versus the quad channel memory setup, lots of situations are not memory bandwidth limited.
Yeah.
So it might not show a huge benefit in a lot of workloads. So it probably makes sense to keep the desktop parts kind of siloed from these things. But, if there's demand, AMD is going to want to sell them. So we'll see what happens. We actually have a couple of questions. Someone's asking why Lenovo, Dell and HP have
interesting question,
machines
actually.
like this as well. And I think this was purely just strategic kind of setup with AMD. HP and Dell are great partners for AMD. So I would suspect if Lenovo has some traction with these, we're going to see other people jump in as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised, and we can actually move on to the next topic, if you like. Lenovo's ThinkStation P620 launches with AMD's new Threadripper Pro 64-core workstation CPUs. I'm looking at this thinking, okay, obviously Lenovo stepped up, right up to the plate quick on it. I would expect there might have been more critical mass than just a single OEM announcements, because they are pretty tight with Dell and HP. You think there's Intel influence there, or what do you think that is? Just the reason for, I guess, one major OEM partner to start.
I don't know. I'm not sure why they would go so limited. I mean, Lenovo's huge, and the machine looks like a beast.
Yep.
So it's probably more of AMD testing the waters, and Lenovo was willing to test the waters with them because it's obviously going to be a super premium setup. I think they're going to move. I think that there are professional content creation professionals that are going to drool over this kind of horsepower and, all of that bandwidth with PCIe 4 and just, these things are going to be nuts.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. And you look at the Lenovo machine, it is loaded for bear. Quadro graphics, they've got a pair of Quadro graphics cards in there. Of course, PCIe Gen 4 capable, that 8-channel DDR4 memory support. Quadro RTX 8000 with 64 gigs of RAM. Up to 64 gigs of RAM in the system. So really, just a well-engineered machine with a ton of horsepower. Man.
That's a
you would
clean
think
build.
Others would be all over it. What's that, Chris?
That's a really clean looking build. I'd probably, not do the blue silk screen on the motherboard, make it black, but other than that, looks really nice.
Yeah. I'm looking at some active cooling on the VRMs there. That's interesting, right? You see that?
Yeah, lots of the TRX 40 boards had active cooling, and I can't tell in that picture if it's it's over the memory or if it's over. I think it's over the memory, but it is
over the memory. You're right.
It looks like an 80 millimeter or a 92 millimeter fan on the back. I hope that thing's not too loud.
Yeah, that looks like actively cooled RAM. You're right, Marco. The VRM is in between the DIMM sockets on either side of the CPU socket. Huh.
Yeah.
Now, is that running power out the end of the GPUs, or are the cables just not hooked up? I can't quite tell if those are the connectors showing at the end of the cards, or if it is at the very bottom. So it could be that that's a little dressed down.
There's no cooler. There's no cooler on the CPU as well. I just think the cables aren't in there for picture's sake.
Clean look, yeah. I wonder how much that thing costs.
It's not going to be cheap.
Oh, here it is right here. All of this power and functionality will not come cheap. The ThinkStation P620 will ship in September, starting at $4,600, $4,599 to be exact.
Well, considering a 3990 standard desktop processor is 4Gs on its own, that's definitely the 12-core config at that price.
Yeah. Wow, man, I tell you. What else can we say about these Threadripper Pros?
You can say, gimme.
ECC memory, that's important, obviously, for data integrity, for folks that want that sort of ultimate, ECC error correction, and what does it stand for? Error correction, something. Anyways, it's end-to-end, memory integrity and error correction, and good for folks that have mission critical stuff that can't fail, that can't barf, that can't have corruption.
We have Mr. James Pryor in the chat saying it's error check and correction for us.
Error check and correction. Thank you. I needed the extra C, James. My aging brain was failing me there. I used to know that. Oh boy. Yeah, I know good stuff from the folks at Lenovo and AMD, and we'll have to see if we can get our hands on that thing and kick the tires, Marco.
I hope so. We're going to have to work those angles and get one of those.
We work a few angles here now, don't we? Yeah. All right. Well, let's move along to the land of SSDs. Let's talk Kingston's DCM 1000 SSD, big, fast NVMe storage. How big and how fast, Marco?
So up to 7.68 terabytes in a single 2.5-inch U.2 form factor, and 3.1 gigabytes per second reads with up to 2.8 gigabytes per second writes, and that's it. We can probably move on.
No, so it's PCI Express Gen 3. It's not a 4, right?
Right. Correct. PCI Express Gen 3. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, it was 96-layer NAND QLC flash memory in the drives, and these particular drives are tuned for mixed workloads. So, in that space, you have drives from Samsung and Intel currently available. And if you come by the site, check out the benchmarks. What you'll see is, even on, I tested these on a really high end on the 64-core Threadripper platform, because I'm laying the foundation for future PCIe 4 drives, and I want to get some reference data here. In terms of IOPS, with this particular platform, up to a Q depth of 32, they're kind of competitive. Samsung's stronger with the lower Q depth reads. I'm sorry, Intel is stronger with lower Q depth reads. Samsung's a little better with the writes. But in terms of sequential throughput and latency, all of the drives are fairly competitive until you get to the higher Q depths, and the Kingston drive sort of fell off a bit. Still fast, still blows away any hard drive, obviously, but versus the Intel and Samsung drives, they did taper off at Q depth 32, competitive up to Q depth 16. But in terms of throughput, the Kingston drives were faster than both. So in testing, I actually saw write throughput in excess of 2.6 gigabytes a second, and reads basically achieved what the spec was saying. I think I was higher than spec. I think I got to 3.4. Let me double check the Crystal Disk Mark numbers. Give me 10 seconds here, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah, so Crystal Disk Mark on sequentials, I saw up to, I got to go one more page. Hold on, everybody. Yeah, 3.68 gigabytes per second reads with 2.8 gigabyte per second writes. So really strong drives if you need that max bandwidth going back and forth.
Yeah, big fat, up to 8 terabytes or 7.68 terabytes, I guess. Yeah, good stuff from Kingston. Do folks need this level of? Again, this is more of an enterprise drive. Is this a good workstation drive? What are the applications for this kind of SSD?
So it's funny, it used to be that the enterprise drives were 3-4x the price of consumer drives.
Right.
And it's just not the case anymore. This drive is between 21 and 23 cents a gigabyte, up to 26 cents a gigabyte.
Pretty good.
Yeah, there's a premium versus consumer drives, but what you also get is end-to-end data protection and power loss protection. There's capacitors in the drives that will allow them to flush the write cache in the event of a power outage, so you don't lose any data. Now, which makes them good for even desktop purposes, workstation purposes. But what enterprise drives are not good at is when they fail, they usually lock hard. You'll get a warning, smart warnings, but when they fail, that's it. They're dead. You're not getting anything off of them. Whereas a consumer drive, you just might start to lose data and they still work, and just some blocks are inaccessible. But yeah, SSDs are so reliable. I wouldn't sweat that. If you want, if you want power loss protection and you're willing to spend a little bit of a premium, going with a drive like this is not ill-advisable.
Yeah. And this is, I'm trying to think, what's the NAND flash on there? I know you said 96-layer 3D NAND flash. Who's the manufacturer on board? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I couldn't pull the drive apart. It had weird screws that I didn't have to remove. So I'm not sure. If I were to guess, it's going to be Toshiba in there, because
Toshiba, yeah,
flying everybody.
Yeah, they're the 96, most of the 96-layer big stuff that you see out there. And Kingston is an ODM. So yeah, they're not making the memory. Be interesting to find out what the guts were on that. The controller, yeah, it looks like solid drive. 2.5-inch Do they have gum sticks, or is this just not
No,
not available?
these are just U.2 drives.
U.2, yeah. 2.5-inch U.2. Chris, you want one?
Chris, I'm sending Chris something similar.
Yeah, I mean,
so we
more
can beef up the streaming PC.
fast storage is always really nice to have, especially when you start doing video and archiving everything. Can never be fast enough or spacious enough.
Well, I tell you what, the one you tested, Marco, is retailing for only $1,000 in the 3.84 terabyte variant.
That's it. It's
It's a little on the pricey side, but good stuff. Do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah. James was saying we should get one of those Lenovo workstations and take down Ian from a non-text world record in Y Combinator. I will try. I think it was Y Cruncher, though. I'm not sure. And we also had a question from Richard Harris: is how can I check if my PC is Gen 3 or Gen 4? Right. If you don't have Ryzen 3000, you don't have Gen 4. It's the only platform that's Gen 4 right now.
Yeah. Interesting stuff for sure there. From the good folks at Kingston. We don't often hear enough about them. They tend to be sort of, they play in the OEM. I guess they're certainly big in retail as well, but we haven't looked enough at their products, to be honest. So we have to get on that, right? Because that's
I'm all over it, man.
Yeah.
If you remember way back in the day when Kingston first unveiled the HyperX brand, they used the first quote, a first HotHardware quote on a retail package like 15 years ago was a HyperX package.
There you go. Now we're dating ourselves. It was like what was it, like regular SD RAM or something like that?
I think it was DDR2. It
was actually DDR. Wow. We're not getting old. We're getting better. Honest. Yeah. All right.
No comment.
Oh, easy there, millennial. Easy. Hey, all right. Well, let's move on to the next topic of the order of business here. We've got a review from the fabulous Ben Funk. He is a reviewer, technology journalist extraordinaire. That is, he's almost as good as his name. That last name, the Funk. Gotta love it. He checked out Death Stranding, the PC review. This was a PS4 game that was ported over, and he had the notion that it transcends traditional gaming or gameplay to really art form, and I thought that was an interesting take. I actually fired up the game for, I don't know, maybe 3 minutes. I installed it and didn't get a chance to play it very much, but I got the, in the initial cutscenes, the backstory and all that, the setup of it. And then I, took my character, ran around and floundered because I had to learn the game. I didn't get a chance to learn the game. Ben played through quite a bit and came away hooked and impressed. I totally could relate to his notion of art form because it has an air about it. I don't know how else to explain it except that when you fire up a game, I don't know, you sort of understand what to expect. If you're firing up Call of Duty, it's a first-person shooter, it's bang, bang, here we go, tactical. You fire up Doom, you're expecting demons and, it's kind of, I don't know, Half-Life has, the scientific sort of sci-fi vibe. This really felt, I don't know how else to explain it, except, it felt sort of very thick in atmosphere. Like, okay, the way they craft the soundtrack, the way they craft, some of the intro animations, and just, they really bring you into the story and the vibe quickly. And it's a very natural sort of environment. It feels cinematic. That's a good word. Feels cinematic. I mean, things can look cinematic, but this really sort of had the, am I watching a movie or am I playing a game kind of vibe going on just in the first few minutes that I tinkered around with it. Marco, I know you read through Ben's piece. What were your thoughts on it? And then, of course, there's some interesting technology behind it too, DLSS 2.0. is supported for NVIDIA GeForce RTX cards, GeForce cards in general, I believe. No, that's RTX only. Sorry. Anyways, yeah. What do you think?
So the game's really, really funky. It's really wild. It's Ben kind of characterized it. It's lots of people call this game like a walking simulator because it's more about, it's not about running and gunning. It's more about being stealth and caring about what happens in the environment because I don't want to give away the story, but like as people are killed by some of the creatures, they could like take out whole cities, right? And at one point you get, I forget what the BB stands for, but at one point, like you end up having to carry like this little baby.
An infant.
What was that, Chris?
I think it's Bridge Baby.
Bridge Baby. I think, yeah. It's like you have to like carry around
kind of creepy
baby in like this little enclosure that gives you additional abilities to sense when the BTs are coming. BTs are the bad guys. I forget what that stands for too. But it's like, it's really, really strange. And what Ben kind of got out of the game was that you have to be considerate about other characters in the game and the environment. And it's not, and that's sort of what made it different from other games out there. Then, you know, on the tech side, as you mentioned, not only does it have support for, DLSS2, but also AMD's Fidelity Effects contrast aware sharpening. So like it's a leading edge game in terms of technology and a really different game in terms of how it's played.
Graphics are impressive as well. I'm not sure do you know what game engine it's running?
I don't. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know if it's let's see, in collaboration with Valve. It did have a little it did have a little bit of a Valve kind of vibe going on with it. You know, again, a little bit of a Half-Life vibe, but different. And the visuals are really, really nice. I don't think you don't have ray tracing going on, but again, that DLSS 2.0, Ben did some quality mode shots, performance mode shots, looks really crispy. And then the nice thing is it plays on all kinds of hardware from, you know, mid-range, you know, reasonably priced stuff to, you know, the high performance stuff that we tested as well. But like RTX 2060 Super at 4K, no problem. You know, in ultra quality mode. So, you know, you can, if you drop it to, you know, quality mode, you're still, it's like almost 70 frames per second in the 99th percentile, you know, min frame rate kind of stuff. So really efficient game engine that looks great. Chris, did you tinker around with this yet? It's up on Steam.
Yeah, so I haven't played Death Stranding, but I've seen a number of reviews for it, and I think it is a very polarizing game or experience, if you'd rather call it that in that way, because it's so unlike most other titles that are out. I think it's something that years ago when I had more time to throw at something, I could probably get lost in, and just the experience of going through the game would be a fascinating thing. I don't imagine it's a game for people like I'm at now, where you need to pick up a game, play for a few minutes, and then, you know, move on with your day. It's something really to get lost in and experience. So I think it's very interesting. I think people are either going to absolutely love or absolutely hate the game. And that's okay. We don't need games that everyone adores. We need...
Yeah,
I think it's very interesting to have these games that push boundaries in ways that maybe make people feel uncomfortable, make them feel... I mean, even if they're uninterested in it, at least something out of the experience. It's interesting.
Yeah. As Ben noted, as with any artful medium, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But we were emotionally invested throughout our time in the game. So, yeah, and that's kind of what I got. You know, honestly, I would have liked to be able to jump into this complex world a little easier. And, you know, I'm like Marco. I have, you know, limited attention span and limited time to invest. I'd rather just go in and slug it out quick and, you know, have a more of a mindless experience. But I can tell you that it did suck me in. It was interesting right away. Just in the way that's set up in the feel of the game. So check it out if you get a chance. If this is your kind of jam, if you like, storyline and puzzles and non-deterministic outcomes, being able to affect outcomes of the gaming environment, through your own actions and not having to follow a straight line. Yeah, interesting stuff. And good old Ben checked it out. Check it out at HotHardware. That's where we have the review. You can see some screenshots. You can see some performance benchmarks. I think it will run pretty good on just about anything. Never mind an RTX card. Anything else to add there, Marco, before we move on?
No, I think you guys covered it.
Yeah. We've got some other things to talk about, and one of them is giving away phones, so we can talk about that. And then we should talk about the current contest we have afoot and one that's coming as well. TCL 10 Pro giveaway, beat the heat. We actually joined up with the good folks at TCL. They put up for grabs 5 TCL 10 Pro phones. And that giveaway promotion has ended. We selected 5 winners this morning. To give you a sense on what was up for grabs here, TCL 10 Pro, powered by Qualcomm Snapdragon 675, a 6.4-inch Full HD AMOLED display, HDR10 compatible display, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, all kinds of shooters in the phone, 64 megapixel rear, and then they have an ultra wide 16 megapixel camera, 5 megapixel macro, camera, and a 2 megapixel selfie. No, front facing is 24 megapixel, excuse me. And 4,500 milliamp hour battery. So this thing should be a battery king. In our review, I'll have to pull this up actually, because we did review this. I have to refresh my memory. I'm going to drop this in the chat on how it did with that 4,500 milliamp hour battery. Where's battery life? I think it did pretty well.
Yep, it was up near the top. I don't remember its ranking, but it was up near the top.
Yeah, it's up in the top quadrant for sure. North of 727 minutes. Do the math there. 727 divided by 60. Hey, that's over 12 hours, don't you know? And so, top end, top notch, nice large Android phone, and we're giving away 5 of them. Marco, tell them who won.
We have 5 winners. The post is up on the site, so I'm going to pronounce a couple of these wrong. Apologies. So we have 5 winners. Vladimir Pulyuga. I apologize if that's not pronounced correctly. Brandon Rice, Brandon Young, Davidson Chu, and Rob Hestar. We linked to all of your Twitter profiles. If you can reach out to us via email, there's a link in the post, and we will probably reach out to you via Twitter as well, just to make sure it's actually you contacting us. And once we have your contact information, we'll get the prizes sent right out.
Yeah, the good folks at TCL will be shipping directly, and I have just dropped the review in there so you can see what these phones are made of. And then I also dropped the giveaway link, the promotion link, announcing the winners. And yeah, man, we had a ton of participation. I think it was close to 2,000 people actively involved in this promotion. Tons of actions, liking and sharing and tweeting and all that good stuff. And yeah, the good folks at TCL really stepping out there trying to get their brand in the mix, and giving away phones to do it. So love to have that with a solid offering. If you're not familiar with TCL, they're a big display guy, big in TVs. So phones are a natural. If you're making OLED TVs, you can make the little displays too for the phones, right? Right, fellas? Right?
Especially when they were making Android TVs.
What's that?
They were making Android-based TVs too, so they're already familiar with Android even before they get into the smartphones.
Yeah, they had smart TVs too, right? Smartphones and smart TVs. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about what we're giving, what we have up for grabs now that will be given away with the good folks at AMD and Asetek, and that is the HotHardware Ryzen and Radeon giveaway with Asetek and AMD. Up for grabs currently, right now, active giveaway. Get in it to win it, as they say. Up for grabs, AMD Ryzen 7 3800X XT. That's the new one with a little bit extra turbo going on. A Sapphire Pulse Radeon RX 5700 XT. That's the GPU. It's a graphics card. It's pretty fancy and stout, and yeah, all that good stuff. And then the third prize is the AMD Ryzen 5 3600X, a standard X, not the XT. And that is a 6-core processor, right? Am I right? Or is that an 8-core? Yeah.
6-core.
6-core, right. Just going from memory. Again, the 3700, or excuse me, the 3800 XT is an 8-core. And so, yeah, 3 prizes up for grabs, 3 AMD prizes up for grabs. And one of them provided to us from the good folks at Asetek. If you're familiar with those guys, they do all kinds of liquid cooling solutions, self-contained liquid cooling. Their original closed-loop liquid cooling design and patent was used in many OEM designs for all-in-one liquid coolers. The good folks at Asetek, and I believe, inventing that technology, right, Marco? Were they the first?
They were the first with the all-in-one. Yep, the all-in-one coolers. They were like way back in the beginning.
Yeah, and they did Vapo chills back then. Little, your computer in a little mini fridge. You put your beers in there too.
Yeah, I don't think little and Vapo chill belong in the same sentence.
Whatever it takes, man.
Did you ever see those, Chris? The Vapo chills back in the day, or were you still?
Yeah, I've seen them, and.
Still
practical, I don't think is really what they're going for, but awesome. Yeah, I think they qualified as awesome.
Yeah, I figured you might still be playing with Legos back then. You know, I wasn't sure. Hey, I got to throw it in once in a while. You called this old guy, so old guys. So Marco, how many more days and how many ways to enter on that?
6 days left on the Ryzen Radeon giveaway, and I don't know, 21 ways to enter. And with these contests, what you should know is you don't have to do everything on the Gleam widget. If you're not comfortable with certain social networks, you don't have to do them all. The more you do, the more entries you get. But yeah, just pick and choose what you're comfortable with. Come by the site, real easy, super quick, and yeah, Gleam will pick the winners once the contest is over.
Cool. Yeah, and there's a couple of good ones on there that folks might not have thought of. If you use Discord, you can join our Discord channel, and Flipboard. We have a Flipboard that you can follow there to get some higher points, 10 points on the Flipboard. So and even Google News. I mean, if you're just don't want to get into social networks at all and you want to follow us on Google News, that'll get you some points too. So good stuff from the folks at AMD, and yet we still have more things to give away. Something forthcoming, Marco, right, from the folks at EKWB.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look up the config because I don't have it in front of me, but this one's gonna be sick, folks. So when we wrap up this Ryzen Radeon giveaway, we're gonna roll into an EK full system giveaway. Dave, do you have the specs on hand?
It is a 270 Conquest. And the specs are going to be, I believe, all AMD Ryzen and Radeon. I believe a 5700 XT will be the GPU. And I'm trying to think, but I think I gotta pull the CPU. Hang on one second. I'm looking through emails now, dude.
3800. Yeah, I don't remember either. It's like we didn't get the system yet, so we're announcing now. The post isn't even up on the site, but it's going to be Ryzen 3000 series, Radeon graphics, SSD storage, cool custom liquid cooling from EK. That's what they do. It's going to be a killer full system giveaway this time around coming up. So it's going to be really, really nice.
Here, I'm going to flash this up.
Pretty great cooling.
This is from PAX East this year when we went by the EK booth, and they had these systems up with that straight pipe tubing. So, again, not sure on the exact config, but they are beautiful looking systems. Very excited.
I think you're looking at least an 8-core in there. It might be even higher than that. But go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry. That's coming to you for review as well.
As I understand it, yeah. So we'll be checking it out and make sure there's no gotchas in there. But, I mean, it looks gorgeous, and EK has as much experience as anyone could ask for in the liquid cooling realm. So I'm interested to see their take on a full system. It should be
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. They have designed custom cooling solutions as well for years, and lots of boutique, especially boutique builders. Guys like Main Gear, I think Origin. They use their water blocks, but this is their systems that they're building now. They're building full up systems as well in a boutique fashion, and as you can see, absolutely stunning builds. And we'll be getting it in for review, so stick around. You can see we're gonna get an identical. I believe we're gonna get an identical config in for review, while the giveaway system will remain at EK headquarters, and they will ship direct. But yeah, so you'll be able to see what we're giving away before we give it away, and see our full review on it too. Hopefully, it passes muster for Chris.
I'm sure,
right?
I'm sure it will.
Not pulling any punches. I'm not getting the system in the end. Mine has to go back. So,
So
it'll be what it'll be.
Yeah. But there will be another lucky winner there too. So man, if you stick around, you could win, and the chances are good. There's lots of folks, lots of regulars who are now regulars tuning into Hot Hardware that have won over the years. It doesn't, hanging around enough and entering enough contests. We do one, sometimes one a month. Right now we're doing a couple a month. Your chances are pretty darn good, right, Marco?
Yeah, I mean, we've given away some awesome stuff over the years. I mean, just in the last, few months, we did a full Alienware system with Asetek. We have all these phones, processors. I think we did another system previously before that last Alienware one. I mean, it's been a lot of stuff. And we we have, I think, 2 more coming after EK, 2 more big ones that we can't talk about yet because we're still ironing out the details. But we're gonna roll into, fall hard with the giveaways.
Yeah, man. And we do have a question in the chat that's actually pretty good. James is giving me a hard time for my Bostonian accent. Smatcaz, yeah, I packed my Smatcaz and have it yad. But Bootman says, what do you guys think about AMD and Intel and NVIDIA products coming out later this year? Lots of leaks. Let's talk about a couple and then we'll close out real quick. So today we got an invite. We actually posted up a little news story on it. I don't know, Chris, if you can. I'll throw this in the chat because it just came up at the end of the day here. Intel sent out an invite that says we have something big coming in September. Here's the post we put up. And they don't say what it is. But Brandon, our news guy that wrote up this story, put a little Tiger Lake module in there. And that's a new mobile platform from Intel. We believe, although it had certainly not been confirmed, that this could be the Tiger Lake announcement. It would stand to reason. It's been earmarked for about that time frame, the September time frame. And we're hearing really good things. There have been lots of leaks about it. Intel 12th gen graphics, 11th gen CPU, Core series processor, 12th gen graphics. Try and keep with us on that one. And Willow Core cores are supposed to be pretty. Willow Cove, excuse me, are supposed to be pretty top notch. This is all leak stuff. Nothing confirmed. But lots of rumblings out there that Tiger Lake's going to be all that and a bag of chips. So we shall see. And then there's lots of rumblings of Ampere too, right, Marco?
Yeah. So just to quickly answer all of those questions, Intel's going to kill it in mobile. NVIDIA is going to kill it in GPU if the rumors are true, and AMD is going to kill it on desktop, as if they weren't already. So yeah, I think assuming knock on wood, the coronavirus situation kind of cools off and supply chains aren't too disrupted and companies are willing to launch towards the end of the year new products. I think it's potential for some really exciting stuff. I mean, basically every segment's getting touched, as the year closes out. So could be some really good stuff.
We are going to be damn busy come Q4, methinks.
Oh man,
late
if it's
Q3
anything
to
like
Q4.
last year, Hot Hardware will be on a hiring spree in a few weeks.
Yeah. I'm not thinking the corona is going to slow this down. And, it's good, man. I mean, hey, the nice thing is, this invite that was sent out by Intel for September, it's a virtual, setup for sure. We're not flying out there, and that's unfortunate because we like to see our friends at all these companies in person, in the flesh. But the nice thing is there ain't no stopping it. It's still coming, and that's great. People pulling together through thick and thin, and gotta love that. And I think that's about it for today, right, fellas?
Yeah, man, I think we covered everything we wanted to cover. There's obviously a lot more on the site. If you're watching and haven't come by hothardware.com yet, please do. We post tons of news stories every day, lots of feature articles, way more than we can cover in a few minutes on the podcast. So definitely stop by the site and check everything out.
That's right. You can find us on the web at hothardware.com, twitter.com/hothardware. Facebook.com/HotHardware, YouTube.com/HotHardwareVids. We would love it if you would thumbs this video up and subscribe and hit the reminder bell. Hit the reminder bell, please, so that you can be notified. It'll bing you when we go live. Right, Chris? So that Chris is behind the knobs and dials. And
always better to be able to participate.
Right.
Jump in the chat, ask us questions, keep it going.
That's right. You got to be in. You got to be in it to win it. And we would love to have you join us here on the cast as well. And until next time, Wednesdays at 5:30, that's when we try and shoot. Until next time, thanks for stopping by.